Konnichiwa, namaste, salute, hola, hello. Welcome to day 2 of Gateway's 3-day virtual conference. Now, for those who missed it yesterday was day 1, where we looked at maintaining good mental health in times of crisis. And we also had Miss Gloria Brown, speaking to us about estate planning. And trust me, it was indeed a very, very informative session. But no worries, if you missed it, you can always visit our Facebook page. The live is there. I'm sure you can get some notes from what's there, and you too can benefit. Now, for those who did not log on yesterday, this week marks Credit Union Week nationally and globally, where credit unions stop and reflect on their legacy and how over the years we have been helping members financially and socially. Now, today, although being day 2 of the virtual conference, it's actually day 1 of the small business aspect of this conference. And today, we'll be talking to 2 wonderful ladies here today. We'll be talking about business planning and taxation. Tomorrow, however, we'll be looking at managing your finances, managing your business, and we will wrap up the session hearing from Ms. Deborah Horton, who is a digital strategist, and she'll be speaking to us about how we can use digital technology to drive our business. So, like yesterday, today promises to be a very informative session. Now, I want to apologize for the late start. We are well over half hour late, so we will not do a lengthy introduction today. Now, a lot of us think that we don't need a business plan to be successful. As a matter of fact, what is a business plan? And most of us would have seen successful corporations, small companies start from scratch, turn into big organizations, big companies, and they never had a business plan. They woke up one morning with an idea, they had the cash, boom, and everything was successful. So do we really need a business plan? And what should be included in a business plan? Why do you think the bank asks you for a business plan whenever you go for a loan? Well, these and more questions will be answered today by one of our lovely guests that we have here with us. Her name is Charlieanna Bailey-Carey. Lovely name. When I saw that name, I was thinking that probably her dad name is Charlie. And I also thought about Charlie's Angel. Now, she's a business development officer or research assistant at the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, JBDC. She holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Political Science and a Master's of Science degree in Sociology, with emphasis in social policy from the University of the West Indies, Mona. She is also certified in project management. She is described as agile, hardworking, reliable, and customer-centric team member of the JBDC. Team member indeed, who endeavors to provide meaningful business development support to Jamaica's micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. Welcome, Charlieanna Bailey-Carey.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I am doing well.
Looking lovely. Well, I won't say as usual, but you're looking lovely today.
Thank you. You too.
And thanks for joining us. You'll be speaking to us today about business planning.
Yes.
But before you go into your wonderful presentation, just tell us, what exactly is a business plan?
Well, I want to use the analogy of building a house, and you have an idea what you want. You may have a concept in your head and you want to conceptualize it, put it on a piece of paper and follow that blueprint. Now, translate that analogy to a business plan. You think about a roadmap and something that you can use to guide the processes in terms of you developing your business. And there are so many elements in it that you can pull out at a later date and use as a high-level document to develop other areas of the business. So it's an interesting area and something that our MSMEs need to take into consideration and really get on board for those who are not on board and make the very best use of the document as best as possible.
Okay, great. And just let me inform all our viewers, we have a live studio audience here with us, about 5 persons. So feel free to ask your questions on. We will take questions at the end of the presentation. So feel free, once Mrs. Carey starts her presentation, take your notes, ask your questions. We'll take as many questions as possible. We will also be taking questions from the floor. So my live studio audience, you can scream, let they all hear it, hear or clap. And yes, we are observing the relevant social distancing. So they are sitting well apart, mask out, properly sanitized. Good. Now, I went to a seminar a couple weeks ago, Miss Carey, and we were talking to a group of small business owners.
Okay.
And when I mentioned the word business plan, everyone is like, as Jamaican would say, they drop in a shell.
Yes.
It's a dreaded and daunting task. Most persons will say, me have my idea in my head, and me know what I want, but me not understand the figures, but I know where I want to go, but me can't put it on a paper.
People are usually afraid of figures. And that is why at JBDC, for example, we have hand-holding processes and we do a number of activities with our clients, and we ensure that we develop their capacities in the different areas. And guess what? You won't always have all the skill sets as it relates to business development or any area in life. And as such, you can outsource. You just need to have a general gist. So when you're having the conversations with your consultants or your advisors, you will be better able to appreciate and add value to the conversations that you're having with them. That way, you can help with the development of your business. So I have a poll for our viewers, those online and those who are here. Well, you all will be able to participate in it online, of course. But that's one of the questions that I ask. What comes to mind? What word, what phrase comes to mind when you hear the term business plan? And it will be quite interesting to see what the responses will be, because we want to know what you are thinking and to help you to clarify those misunderstandings, if you have misunderstandings, and to get you on that pathway for success concerning the development.
So I can participate in that poll as well?
Most definitely.
Okay, so I can do it after?
Yes.
Okay, no problem. Good.
Yes.
All right. So yes, I was talking about, that seminar I went to, and persons, being scared of business plan. The first thing that they think it is, it has to be this big bulky document that tell you exactly where they want. It's like they're saying, I cannot tell you from day one all that I want to achieve in 3 years.
Well, the business plans in general, you can have very elaborate business plans. You can have those that are so elaborate. In general, it can be a tedious process. It can be very technical. It can be very costly, can be super expensive, especially for our micro entrepreneurs, and you can outsource it. There's the Development Bank of Jamaica. They have a voucher for technical assistance that you can use to help to offset the cost. It comes with a 70-30 ratio in terms of how you will handle the finances.
Because that's a big bite. You just cut off a big chunk. Let's keep the audience in tune. Right. So you're saying that I can get assistance in writing a business plan?
Yes, you
from
can get
BBG.
Assistance. Yes, in terms of the cost component. So, but
Oh, as in to pay to get it done?
Yes.
Okay.
And you can outsource it by one of those business service organizations, such as JBDC.
I was about to ask you
that.
But
apart from the business plans that are elaborate, you have those that you can use, like it's just a snapshot. So you would have a tabloid, a big sheet of paper. This is for your own purpose, right? You're not taking it to the bank, to Gateway, for example, or another approved financial institution for funding. But you are going to use it as a guiding tool. So on it, you just have a snapshot to say, so that one is referred to as like a lean startup canvas situation or a lean business plan. So you quickly just look at the headings, include the necessary. So it would be like a high-level document. You have others that can be very simple as well. And I'll bring our attention to that this evening. We'll look at a simple business plan and see how best, using simple languages and so forth, or entrepreneurs can navigate their way concerning that.
Okay, so Mrs. Carey, I'm going to allow you to go to your presentation. But before I allow you to start, I have one question for you, though, just for clarity, because I want persons to know who we are talking to.
Yes.
So for those who are just joining, We are speaking with Miss Charlieanna Bailey-Carey. She's a business development officer / research assistant at the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, JBDC.
Yes.
So, Mrs. Carey, you're saying that, can I walk into a JBDC office and have one of the BDOs do a business plan for me as a small business owner?
That's a good question. Very good question. I must tell you that it's quite time consuming, and as such we used to, but we don't do that anymore because we have a number of clients that we have to take care of, and we ought to provide a balance and to ensure that we provide meaningful support so we can help our clients, refer them to the right consultant through our business service provider program at JBDC. And we don't just love to do business plans for our clients like that, because that's not the end all. Business development, it's a journey, and there are a number of things that you will have to take into consideration. So that's just one of the many things that we would provide assistance with to our entrepreneurs.
So you mentioned
yes, it can happen. It's a process. So if you come, we do the necessary. We do our screening or onboarding, and we are going to check to see the relevance of the plan. Have the conversation with you to see where you're going and to see how best we can support you on this journey. And if you're going to go, if you know you need the plan, you're requesting the plan, for example, for funding, you know, you're approaching an investor, or you're going to get a grant and you need the plan, then of course we'll point you in the right direction. But we can also start by giving you a template, because what we would have realized over the years is that people or entrepreneurs in general, they will outsource it, get a consultant, pay up to, for example, $300,000.
What?
Yes, business plans can be very expensive. And you go now to your bank and you're having the conversation, and they're asking you about your projections. If you're a startup, asking you how you're planning on acquiring these clients, how are you going to identify, what are you going to do, and getting you engaged, and then you don't know what is written. So there can be a disjoint between the document, what you have in your head. So we take you through different processes to ensure that you are equipped and ready to make that step.
So when I come to my video at JBDC, it's like they're creating the what they call it now, the canvas, then, so to speak.
Yes.
And then when I leave your office, I should have an understanding of what I want to go to the consultant and say, this is what I want.
And we have different business development trainings that are geared at capacity development, such as business plan writing, financial literacy, and so forth. Proposal, how to create a winning proposal for persons to tap into donor funding, because you always have to look into creative ways of generating funds and getting the business where you want to.
And I like that too, because you know we have persons sometimes may approach a bank, credit union or bank for funding, and they don't get it. They can explore the options.
Right.
So you know, having a good proposal is always something.
A sound proposal.
Yes.
But you know, since we have already gone through the process, if I may continue.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
But people may ask the question, do I really need a business plan? Or who needs a business plan? You are, for example, you have been in existence. I'm now talking to our entrepreneurs, and welcome to the program, most definitely. So you have been in existence for probably 10 years now, 12 years now, and you're going quite fine. And you are about to launch a new product or a new service. Do you need a business plan? Yes, you may most definitely need a business plan. So you're a startup business. Is it that a business plan is only necessary for persons who are just starting a business? No. What about the size? You may question, I am a micro entrepreneur. I am small and medium. Do I need a business plan? Yes. So irrespective of the size of the business, irrespective of the structure in terms of the registration status, whether you're a sole trader, limited liability company, or a partnership, or even a social enterprise, do you need a business plan? Yes, you most definitely need a business plan. Irrespective of your years of existence in terms of how long the business has been established, do you need a business plan? Yes, you do. So one of the things that we hope you will get from our presentation this evening is that there'll be a change in your mindset in terms of how you're going to use this wonderful tool. So you're not going to have a disjoint with the business plan and do a business plan and put it one side. You're going to engage the business plan and allow it to be a tool that can really help you to monitor and evaluate the business, to see if you are achieving these milestones, to see that the changes that have been happening in the business environment, and how you are going to go back to the drawing board when necessary, as we can see in this pandemic, because quite a number of businesses would not have been prepared for a crisis such as this. And that would, in terms of a risk, they would not have taken note of a risk like that. So those are some areas that you have to tease out. Remember too, you need the business plan to not just to secure finances, but to communicate with your stakeholders, your shareholders, your management team, so they can understand, because the business plan will unload and it will bring a structural framework to all the various elements of a business. For example, the mission of the business,
the vision,
the core values. So these are some areas that we're going to tease out as well. Now, we have already explained to you in a nutshell what a business plan is. See it as a roadmap, a document that has been written that pays attention to the key elements of the business or of a business. And we know that it can be very beneficial, because you're going to use it as a roadmap, use it as a tool to guide the process.
So, Ms. Carey, might I interject 1 second too?
Go ahead.
Regarding the business plan, you said earlier that no matter how much years you're in operation, I guess most persons are of the orientation that you need a business plan when you're starting.
I was having a conversation earlier with one of my colleagues, and I'm saying to her, quite often there's the misconception that you have to have a checklist. So, you know, you're starting up your business and you need a checklist. Okay, I need to license and register the business. Check. I need to go to the Bureau of Standards for this legal thing. Check. I need a business plan. Check. But you're not making note, mental note, and understanding that these things do not happen in a vacuum. They don't happen in a vacuum. So why? It's the why. Why do you need the business plan? That's what you have to focus on, the why. Do you need the business plan because you need finances, right? Do you need it because you need to communicate with your clients? That's one of the questions I ask as well.
Can you use it as for direction, company direction?
Yes.
So can I pick up ABC Limited, small business company, business plan and know their direction, know where they're going?
Yes. Yes. But again, remember that things can change. And as such, when things change, you should go and change, do the necessary in terms of improve. Because operating a business, you don't operate in a vacuum. And you'll hear me use that quite often, because sometimes there's a disjoint and there's a disconnect in terms of what is happening in reality. So you have the plan, right? And things would have changed. What are you going to do? You have to go, interrogate, and do the necessary. Now, the business plan has different elements. You would have noticed that it has an executive summary, but your executive summary will not be the very first thing that you write, because it's going to be a summary of all the different areas that entail the business plan, right? But you don't.
So let me break it down, Miss Carey, because we have a mixture of listeners.
No problem.
You know, and some persons, we have persons here that are doctors, persons with the MBAs and all the ABCDFGs, and we have some persons with nothing at all.
That's
so let
fine.
us keep it a little bit simpler, understandable as much as possible. Now, I might know what executive summary is, but can you give another term for persons who might not know?
So in essence, this is the document that your investors, your stakeholders, your shareholders, that, for example, if you're a startup, that they're going to see. So when they see this document, they should be blown away by it. You're not going to put any fluff in it. You're going to speak the truth, right? It will have, and you will speak to the different things in terms of the products or the services that you will be offering. It will speak to the mission of the business in terms of who you are and why you exist and what you'll be doing. It will tell them whether or not you have a market. So you're going to be very brief with this document, roughly two pages the most, and you are going to tell exactly what it is, just snapshots, highlights. So it's a summary, as it states, a summary.
So you're saying that if
you're not going in details,
if
like
Miss Brown is starting up a business or in the middle of her business, 3 years into business, and I have her business plan in my possession, you're saying that when I pick that plan up and I read the executive summary, I might not need to go through the entire document.
Precisely.
Are you saying that?
Or for example, let's say you have a good book, right? If you're an avid, you love to read, for example, and you say, okay, you ever purchased a book before and it's very bulky, right?
First thing you do is turn the back.
And you just say, let me just go straight to the back and see how it has been, you know, the conclusion, what it's going to be like. You can use that same approach in terms of the mindset, how you're going to treat the executive summary. Good?
I like that comparison. Yes, yes. Makes absolute sense.
Wonderful.
Okay.
So apart from the exam, we touched a little earlier about your mission statement. Now, sometimes people the phrase mission statement and they cringe or they feel a bit intimidated. But in essence, all we're asking you, why do you use it? What do you do? So you're a Gateway Cooperative Credit Union, for example. What do you do?
Our mission is right here.
But apart from telling me the mission that is there, and I'm putting you on the spot,
oh Lord,
but be very brief. What do you do in a nutshell?
Provide financial services.
You provide financial services. And who do you provide it to?
To our members.
To your members. And you can be a little bit more explicit now. Members in terms of
living and working in the county of Cornwall, have relatives born, or Bond is the county of Cornwall. Yes.
Okay. And then now, why do you do what you do? Because in essence, probably you are providing this service to the poorer, or well, you will have persons from different
improve standard of living,
right, and so forth. So in essence, you're answering the question of your existence.
Okay.
And Uber, for example, they have a very simple business in terms of mission, not business plan, but a simple mission. It's all about the motions. I'm paraphrasing now. So yes, they're providing transportation and taking persons from point A to the other. But what? You have ride share and you're getting different experiences as you go along. You can order your meal and so forth. So they're selling an experience. They're providing it to people who need to move from one place to another in a very cost-effective manner, because you can the share, there's a share in terms of the expenses, and you're moving along. So it's all about the motion and so forth. So it's nothing tricky. You just have to understand your reason for existence as it relates to the customers that you're serving, the environment in which you operate, the staff that you're having, because the mission provides direction for your vision as well as your core values. And then the core values translate into how you're going to deal with your internal stakeholders as well as your external stakeholders. Because quite often people don't even realize the value of their internal stakeholders to the process.
And for the purpose of listeners, Mrs. Carey, could you break down an example of what an internal stakeholder
All right.
includes?
So simply put, we're here at Gateway Cooperative Credit Union. You have the management team. You have the other levels of staff, which would include your auxiliary, your supervisors, your admin, persons on the front line, and so forth. Those are examples. The external now would be the customers that you serve, the end users of all the products or the services that you have here. So everybody will add value, and this is important. Understand your why. Understand your why in terms of the customers that you serve, the environment in which you operate, and your staff, among others. But understand your why.
And that makes absolute sense.
Right. Now, apart from understanding your existence, people love a winning story. So why do you have this business? A number of entrepreneurs, they emerge in the ecosystem, in the entrepreneurial space for many reasons, some out of illness, some because they were made redundant, some because they just wanted a change, some persons because they really can't be bothered with working 9 to 5, some because they have different passions and they want to unearth their creativity.
And some occasion by COVID-19.
Yes, oh yes, because things will emerge from different situations and crises and so forth, right? Now, what is your story, right? What do you offer? Who are the members of your team? Now, in a nutshell, what you're going to do here, and remember, we're being simple. So what you're going to do here is to give us an overview of your company, right? You should be able, and quite often, if I may, we have one of our team members at JBDC. Whenever she does anything concerning marketing, her name is Janine Taylor. When you leave her sessions, if you didn't understand the products and the services and your branding and so forth, when you leave her sessions, you get a full understanding, a wholesome understanding, and you feel like, yes, I'm ready to do a marketing campaign. So in this section,
and I'm sure so far we're feeling the same thing with you, so you're not out of the woods.
So here you just need to know where your company, tell us who your company is. Give a synopsis about your team, right? Because teammates are important. Remember, entrepreneurs, investors don't invest in a single individual. They invest in the team as well, because the team comes with succession planning and an exit strategy and
as
so
they would
forth.
say, the chain is as strong as its weakest link.
Precisely, and then the team with the different talents will help you to understand and come together and to get on that pathway. So in essence, you can also include in this section the structure of the business, where the business is located, some of the milestones. So for those persons who are not just coming on board, but would have already been established, you can talk about some of the milestones that you would have achieved so far, right? So that is quite important as well. Now, we touched a little about this earlier, but the product or the service, or the products and or services that you will be offering, you need to describe those. If you can't describe your products and services, then that's going to be very tricky for you. Sometimes you may ask,
so what if I'm I want to open a nail business, I'm just doing nails and hair. What could I possibly have under the product and service description?
So you're doing nails and hair. That can break down. Are you going to do, so for hair, for example, extensions,
natural hair,
shampooing and so forth. The moment, remember I spoke about not in a vacuum and establishing linkages. No, I'm putting that in the mix. So the moment you can give a description of your products and services, it will also flow for you to help to identify your target market as well, so that there's a clear linkages, they're intertwined and interdependent on each other. Because again, by doing that, you can start thinking about how you're going to price it, right? And so forth, and what you're going to offer and the space in which you're going to offer it to. Because you may, you nails and hair and so forth, that's a big business. So
must I tell you?
Yes, and it's quite, it is expensive too. So
it's not to know as far as I'm concerned.
Precisely. Yes. So it's not like it can be a premium. It can be something midway, because it depends on who you are targeting. So yes, you need to be explicit in terms of state explicitly, quite frankly, who is it, or rather, what is it that you're doing? And remember, if you have an idea, others will have an idea too. That's true. So what about the value proposition? What is it that you're bringing to the table? How different will it be? You may have, for example, we're doing nails, right? And we're probably along the same stretch in terms of the plaza.
Location,
physical location, yeah. Location, right? But you are doing your nails and you're offering it midway, and I'm doing mine and I'm quite premium. I'm just saying, don't be jealous.
No.
So I'm quite premium, and so my location will have AC. It will have some nice lights like these, because I'm attracting a particular set of persons. When you come, you probably will be able to get a complimentary drink.
A coffee machine in the corner and a palm tree aquarium.
You book in advance, right? So I'm just saying, so there are so many things that you take into consideration. Why is it that people will be willing or able to pay money for the product or the services that you're offering? What is it that is going to differentiate you? Is it the location? Is it the quality? Is it the customer service? You name it. And then there are different things. Remember I said earlier, when you do this document, you're always going to consult it and you use it to track your development and the progress, and you will pay attention to the lessons learned along the way. You will also know later on in the future, as you establish yourself, you can pull out different areas from it, treat it as a high-level document in the sense that it would just look at broad headings and then develop different processes and structures to support the business as you go along. However, I want us to finish the presentation.
No problem.
That's for another time.
But I have a question to Mrs. Carey from the live. You're coming in. This one, I think you would have answered it, but I'm just going to state it. It's from Miss Henry, Pauline Henry. She's saying, good afternoon. Are people still doing a business plan, and is it still relevant?
All right, so people do ask that question from time to time. People are still doing business plans, and if it is still relevant, yes, it is. And there are alternatives to a business plan. For example, a business model, right? Which will give you, again, a snapshot, but it's not a fill in the blank. From time to time, entrepreneurs treat it as a fill in the blank. You have to start with the higher up in terms of a strategy and so forth, and allow it to filter for you to know who your customers are. How are you going to identify your key resources, your distribution channels, and so forth. But that's another ball game by itself.
I like the fact that she asks, is it still relevant? Because from a financial perspective, financial institution perspective, when you approach the bank as a small business operator, well, the first thing we want to see is your business plan.
Yes.
Because quite frankly, if we're going to give you $1 million, $2 million, I need to know what you're going to do with it.
And how are you going to repay?
Exactly.
Because what's important for you is repayment. How will you be able to honor your commitment, honor your commitments on time and in the amount that we would have agreed on? But the world is changing. And we are still getting there, and there are different things that we'll have to do in the space for us to say that business plans won't be relevant anymore. But as it is right now, business plans are still relevant, even for these stimulus packages, so to speak, that our entrepreneurs would have to access. Some of the requirements, or one of them, is the need for a business plan. And you can see people scrambling around and so forth to get it done and to meet the deadline. So yes, Miss Henry, a business plan is still relevant. And I trust and hope that I would have answered your question. Now, another thing that we have to pay attention to is a marketing plan. So with a marketing plan, simply put, it's all about your visibility and your branding and allowing persons to be aware of your existence and turning this awareness into money. Right? Turning it into getting sales and so forth. So what you really need to do, identify your customers, knowing who you're serving or who you will be serving in terms of the demographics, their levels of income, their personalities and so forth. So there are different things and tools that you can use to do a deep dive and so forth. Now, having identified these customers, you now want to know how you are going to acquire them. And having done that, you need to satisfy them because the customers that you have already, once you are satisfying those customers, then guess what? They will become brand ambassadors.
Brand ambassadors, yes. And they'll tell another person, so on and so forth.
Precisely. And you will now be able to create a marketing strategy that will take into consideration your offline and your online strategies and the tools that you will be using and what form of advertisement, right? Now, that's a whole different ball game. And I think you mentioned that you have somebody coming in for marketing. Am I correct?
Tomorrow, digital marketing.
Right.
Yes.
So viewers, please stay tuned so you can understand more about that. Now, marketing, important. Remember, it helps to turn the likes that you will get on Facebook into real sales.
And I like how you're going to that in that direction, because gone are the days when you walk around handing out business cards. And more so now in this pandemic where the social distancing, you can't be doing a lot of word of mouth promotion.
Right.
So, and the new thing now is if you're not online, you're offline.
Right.
And that's offline,
right?
in
Because
inverted
we're in
commas.
that information era as well.
Yes.
There's a
access to information is
access to
important.
information is important. It's just the period that we live into. So you have to be in tune with the business environment. While we do understand that Instagram, for example, may not be for all businesses, Facebook or LinkedIn and so forth, but you have to know what works for you. Once you would have identified, remember, clear linkages. If you would have identified your customers, then you will be able to know how to reach them, right? So for example, if my customers are housewives, people who literally stay home, and I'm putting it in quotation, then, and I'm doing a business, let's say I have a farm, wide scale farming and so forth, where I do fresh produce and livestock and all of that, then chances are I can catch them in prime time, because those persons probably will be watching their TV, you know, older folks. So you have to know your customers. If I'm dealing, if I'm a hair person, a hairdresser / nail technician, and I'm into taking care of the flashy persons and so forth, I'll catch them on Instagram, for example. They'll be on Facebook, because more likely based on the age group, they'll be there scrolling. And then age has no boundaries really with all these social media platforms. It's just that it's the issue of access, which is something else. So while most of us are operating online and are there,
there's still need for traditional marketing,
right? Because not everybody will be operating online. So it speaks really to the persons that you're targeting, and knowing your target market, and really understanding how you're going to satisfy them, how you're going to acquire these clients, keep them satisfied, and have them be brand ambassadors for your business.
Awesome.
Now, competitors analysis. I remember one day at work, we have, as we have different clients. So there was a client saying that I don't have any competition.
Wow, what business is that? Making airplanes?
Probably. But people will say, without even thinking about it, that they have no competitors. Remember, your competition or your competitors can be directly linked to what you're doing, or indirectly, because it probably be something similar but somewhat different. Right? So interrogating the space, knowing who your competitors are, you can make phone calls, browse the internet. There are different tools that you can use. You can use the pestle, and the pestle, in essence, it looks at the political, the economical, the technological, and so forth. And you can do a SWOT analysis too. There are so many tools that you can use.
And it's SWOT, just for clarity, SWOT, for persons who might not know, it means looking at the business strengths, the weaknesses of the business, the opportunities that exist, and its strengths.
You look at the strengths and the weaknesses of your competitors, so you can develop a strategy. And there are so many other things that may emerge by just looking at your competitor. But we are pressed for time. And so you too, as an entrepreneur, for your specific business, the existing or the startup, you too will need to do a SWOT analysis as well. So in essence, the strengths.
Hold on, let me, because I know some of my audience who are listening in. So your strength is really, what am I good at?
Yes.
As a business.
As a business.
What
am I strong in? Am I strong in with having good team members with excellent talents? Am I strong in really providing quality services?
Am I a talker? I can get people to buy into my product.
Right. Am I good at pitching? Whatever it is.
Your weakness is what you're not so good at.
Right. And the opportunities and the threats, those are things that are external to the business that you have limited or no control over. For example, the crisis or regulatory guidelines and
government policies and all of that.
Right. But we're moving along quickly. Your operational plan will be important, so you can pay attention to that. Your financial plan, wow, important. The thing that gets us itchy and a bit intimidated, that is important. And establishing the budget if you're seeking investment. Having gone through all these processes, and the different elements of the business plan, then you will be able to develop a budget that will, something that you want to ask. But there is also a timeline.
And I think persons might not be kind of worried when I hear financial plan, but just correct me if I'm wrong. So you're saying that if I have a business plan, if I'm putting a business plan together and I have all the ideas and all of that, but I'm not so good at finance. I'm not the numbers person. So can I articulate my vision? Can I articulate my business plan to an accountant and say, listen, this is what I want. Help me to put a plan together.
And even go back to your operational plan, right? So you're going to have persons on your team, the management and the line staff, if necessary. Well, yes, usually necessary. And probably you won't have such big of a team, SMEs, depending on the size of the business. You're going to think about salary for those persons. So that is one thing quickly that you're going to think about. You're going to need to procure different resources, whether to help to develop the products or to deliver these services that you will be offering. So those are things that you pay attention to as well. And that will help to feed into the financials. You may have rent to pay, right? Or you may want money to help to develop a website because you're going to go online. You won't be using a brick and mortar. I'm just saying, just quickly. So you will have different risks that you want to think about, like security. And this is Jamaica. Not saying that we're totally bad, but crime is always a concern.
Sometimes things happen.
You have different things to think about in terms of fire, in terms of hurricane, and planning for disasters and so forth. So these things will help to feed into it, but then you would have developed strategies from here as well.
And while you're at it, Ms. Carey, I'm just going to highlight some of the polls. One of the questions is, what word or phrase comes to mind when you hear the term business plan? 13% said roadmap, 50% said blueprint, 6% said a document, and 31% says a plan.
Okay.
So our audience, they have a pretty good idea as to they're in the same line of reasoning.
I would like to hear the one though, the question that speaks to the reason for them getting a plan.
I'm only seeing, are you an entrepreneur? And 67% of our viewers say yes. 33 said no. Do you have a business plan? 74% said no.
Said no. Okay. So as I said before, and we're wrapping up quickly, when you have your plan, you also think about the timeline. And timeline helps us to be committed to a process, to be committed to something. Remember, you're not going to get the document and put it aside, right? Whether it's a lean one you're doing, or you're doing a simple business plan on your own, or you're paying somebody some thousands of dollars to do the plan for you, you are going to prepare it, and you're going to interrogate, you're going to use it to your advantage, and to be able to communicate, to articulate what is it that you're about, and to do the necessary.
And Ms. Carey, since you said you can do the plan on your own just now, I have a question from Asatwa Carney. Do I need to get my business plan done by the pros, or can I do it myself?
All right. I would recommend, if you're going to take it to the bank or send it to one of our organizations for a grant and so forth, or you're trying to get equity, whatever it is, then I would say do it by a pro. However, before you go to the pro, use a simple business plan template. Use that tool so you can get a better understanding, because when you go to the pro will have questions, and the pro can, because you don't know what you're about and so forth, then the pro will not be equipped to help you. So you do it yourself first. Remember, we are Jamaicans. We are very resilient. Do it yourself, DIY. Come on, see a DIY using the simple business plan template, or probably attend the different workshops that will help to develop your capacity.
And Ms. Carey, I want to pause it there, because just the other day I was talking to my stylist, and her name is Rondine Robertson. Hello, Rondine. I know she's watching. So she said that the other day, I think there was a parish council put on this small business seminar and invited a host of small business persons. I think it was only 5 persons turn up. Wow. So viewers, whenever you get the opportunity to attend these free sessions, please take up on it, because not knowing is knowledge.
Yes. Now we are wrapping up. And in wrapping up, I want to say thank you for having me here.
Sure.
I trust and hope that you would have learned a lot. Remember,
definitely,
for you to utilize your business plan, it may require a change in your thinking, in your mindset, and to know that it is a useful document and do the necessary. You're going to consider all the major elements. See your business plan as a roadmap, a blueprint, not just a document to be created and stashed away in file 13. You can prepare your business plan by using a simple business plan template before going to the professionals, to the consultants who have the expertise. You can also, remember now, you would have to have structures in place. So this requires of you to be a registered business, whether a sole trader, LLC, or so forth, but you can access DBJ's voucher for technical assistance from the DBJ, and it will help you to offset some of these costs. Or in doing so, because it can be expensive, that's when you're going to the pro, you can also seek assistance from JBDC and other places to get your business plans done. But remember, if you come to us at JBDC, we're just not interested in doing a business plan for you, in just providing you with a one-off service, because we love to take our entrepreneurs from concept to market. Because at JBDC, we ask the question, how can I help? And we're really in it to win it with you and to take you on your entrepreneurial journey. So come on over. How can we help? You let us know, and we'll
Miss Carey, I tell you, while you're talking, I'm just thinking that we might have to have a business plan 2.0, because
our training team will be able to. They'll be happy.
I think I will be discussing that with my superiors to see how much we can engage you again, because I'm sure persons are burning and they have more questions, but time won't allow us. And I want to say thanks, but could you tell the audience, where can I find a JBDC location in the county of Cornwall?
All right, so we're at 4 Cottage Road. You'll find us there. And now it's best to just touch base with
Cottage
us
Road
online.
in Trelawney?
No, in Montego Bay here.
Okay.
I'm taking it for granted because you know we're in Montego Bay. We're by Fairview right now, delivering this live feed to you in terms of business planning. But apart from that, if you are in St. Anne, we are by Pineapple Place, by the Chamber of Commerce. And it's not just for persons within the environs of St. Anne, but for St. Mary as well. If you are in St. Thomas, we are in your nook and cranny. We are there to provide support. If you are in the corporate area, in the metropolitan.
So in the county of Cornwall, you only have one in Montego Bay?
Yes. And I serve remotely in Trelawney. And but I serve as well to some extent from the Montego Bay office. For Kingston, we are there for you, not just for persons in Kingston, but for St. Catherine and so forth. So we are there. Call us, 876-928-5161. It goes up to 5. Let's see how best we can help you.
All right, thank you, Miss Carey, and I'm sure we'll be seeing each other in the very, very, very near future. And thank you, my audience, for staying with us. We have another informative session lined up for you. So we're just going to switch from lovely lady number 1 to lovely lady number 2. And while we do that, enjoy one of our ads, our mortgage ad, Mr. Producer.
Andrew, I don't want to see this parish.
Come on, man. It's just a movie. What are you friend for?
Sure, start.
Mommy, would I watch something?
Andrew, stop the noise in my ears. You know, see me watch a show.
It's been so long since we had a nice, quiet, relaxing time together.
I know. We should enjoy it while it lasts.
And it's over.
Wait, Andrew, never know say you give foot massage though. You know I have this pain in my foot bottom from God knows when.
I can't believe you went through all this trouble to set this up for me.
Shanice, there's nothing I won't do for you.
How the place are dark? That's better. And I'm strangling I cut my sinus. All right. No, we can't eat. Where's yours?
Drew, I can't do this anymore. Your mom gives us no privacy and she doesn't respect our space at all.
Shan, I don't have any money right now, babe, but I promise you, I will find a way.
But when?
We'll find a way.
Hey, Andrew. See if you can help me send that text message to Jenny now. Her phone look like it's smarter than me. It's what? Thank you.
God. Evening, mommy.
Hi, Andrew.
Hey, babe.
Hey, hon.
I have something to tell you.
Oh yeah, what is it?
I know living with mommy has been hard on us in terms of space, privacy, all of that.
Definitely.
So that's why I decided to get you this.
Yes! Oh my God, Andrew!
You know how long I want them come out of my house? Thank you, Gateway.
Gateway Cooperative Credit Union. For more information on our mortgage plan, visit our website at www.gatewayja.com. Opening the way to your financial success.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of our session today. So for those who are just joining us, we just heard from Mrs. Charlieanna Bailey-Carey from the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, and she spoke to us about business planning, and it was a super interesting, some super interesting information that we had to request a 2.0, but further details will be provided at a later date. Just keep following our Facebook and Instagram pages because we'll definitely be having a 2.0 with Mrs. Bailey-Carey. Now we have in our midst another lovely lady number 2, in the person of Mrs. Lavern O'hara Jenkins. She's a representative from the Tax Administration Department, TAJ, and she'll be talking to us today about understanding our tax obligation, knowing our deductibles, and proper book and records keeping. So let me tell you a little bit about Mrs. Jenkins. So let's put things into perspective as to who we will be talking to for the next 30 minutes or so. Mrs. Jenkins has been with the tax admin for the past 14 years. She was a tax auditor for the first 7 years. Now she is a tax payment education officer, which qualifies her to speak to us today about taxes. She was selected as part of the RAISE project team. That's the Revenue Administration Information System project team that spearheaded the implementation of the online platform that is currently being used by TAJ. She has done a number of educational sessions like this one with taxpayers, helping them to understand their taxes. She is part of the Special Taxpayer Assistance Program, which provides assistance for small and medium enterprises in filing the taxes at the Tax Admin of Jamaica, and she does this every year roundabout between January and March. So Mrs. Jenkins comes with a host of experience, and I'm sure whatever information she has to depart to us today will be beneficial. So Mrs. Jenkins, thank you for joining us today. And you're looking lovely. I told you earlier that I absolutely love that jacket, but off the ear, I have a bag in the car, so you can just shake it off before heading out, right? So Mrs. Jenkins, you know, like most small business owners, you know, we pay an accountant to do our taxes. So we run the business, well, successfully or unsuccessfully, profitable or unprofitable over the years. And when it comes to April, March, February, we say, okay, I'm going to get an accountant to come do my taxes, and that's it. I don't need to concern myself about it. I don't understand it. I don't know what to do. Let the professional deal with it. Do small business owners really need to understand their tax obligation? Why do I need to know all about that? Just leave it for the professionals to do. Why do I need to concern myself with that?
Good evening, and thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here tonight to share with you. And as you're asking the question, why do I need to be concerned with my taxes? It's a very, very important question, and especially to micro and small business persons who may not necessarily be able to pay an accountant, because when you're talking about micro businesses, you're looking at the fact that you have a skill, you have an idea, and you're offering this, and you're a very, very important person in the whole scheme of things. But you'll find that cash flow and all that relates to operating your business do come a little bit daunting. And when you think of all the costs and all the expenses, and now I will have to pay an accountant to do my taxes, and sometimes my operation is not that large. It's not that comprehensive, and I can remember some of the things that I did in school. You know, I learned about what is an income. I learned about some of the costs that I might be incurring in my business, and all I'm required to do is to make a note of this. And so we at the Tax Administration Jamaica, we know that when it comes down to small businesses, micro businesses, it's gonna be a little challenge about learning how to do it. And you may not necessarily want to jump to go to an accountant. You may want to know how to do it yourself. And so this is one of the reasons why it is very important for you to learn how to do it yourself, for you to execute what you have already been taught, and to just put it into practice and get it done. Yes, there'll be times when you need to get to that accountant, but we can get there as we go along. Eventually. But we're talking about micro and small and how we can go for growth.
And I'm sure or micro and small business owners would appreciate that, you know, any way we can get to cut some costs, we would want to explore that opportunity. So yes, that makes absolute sense. Okay. Now, if someone operates a small business, that's my first question. And I got this question from a very close friend of mine, because as you know, we would have been advertising from weeks in the back about this session. And she said to me that she gave me a host of questions from yesterday's seminar. So one of her questions is, if someone operates a small business, do they need to file income tax returns?
Definitely they do. A part of business operation really is the obligation for taxes. And this is one of the reasons why we are here today, so that you can understand your tax obligation. Before we jump into that, about a small business filing, the truth is any business that is registered has that obligation. We said registered businesses.
What if I'm registered but business, I'm not operational?
If you are not operational, then we ask that you communicate that information to the tax department
before the tax is due.
Before the tax is due, yes. Okay. And if you have communicated such, then we will guide you to say whether or not you need to file. But we do want to emphasize the importance of filing, which is really making a declaration of what has happened in your business for the past calendar year.
Okay. So before I go, I'm going to allow you to talk about understanding our tax obligation in a general sense.
Thank you. So understanding our tax obligation really looks at two main ingredients. We want you to understand that it is important to file. It's very important to file on time and online. And one other obligation is to pay any tax that you have computed and is due. And this is in order to avoid any interest charges. Now, as we talk about filing, we want you to understand that the term filing really means making a declaration of what has happened in your business activity for that calendar year. And remember, we talk about the calendar year being January to December. Other persons may get permission to operate outside of this particular calendar year. But for the average micro and small business, the filing period relates to January to December. Okay. Now, we said filing on time and online, and we want to make that point very, very clear.
So we're not welcome in your office space anymore.
Yes, you are welcome.
Okay.
But
because you stress the online.
Yes, we are stressing the online because it has recently become mandatory. Necessary, definitely, because of the current pandemic situation, and we want to find ways to be as safe as possible. But it has become mandatory for filing to take place online. Okay. And so it is important that that is emphasized. So we said filing on time and online. And what do I mean when I say on time? Now, filing on time is stipulated in the Act, where it declares that there's a certain time period by which filing should be done. On average, we look at the month of March. And in the past, we we strictly looked at March 15th. From time to time, the government may change that date a little bit, but we don't want you to look towards the extension. We want to look at being on time. And on time also means ahead of the time. So once your calendar year has ended in December, look to January, look to February. Because when it comes down to March 15, then there becomes a rush, and we want to change that culture of last minute.
Yes, because always your accountant saying it's tax time and I'm swamped. So everybody waiting until March 14th and 14.5.
Exactly. And one of the reasons why we want to avoid that lateness is because we do not want to incur unnecessary charges and penalties, which is unfortunately one of the things that are in our laws. Penalties are set when you do not meet the deadline, and that's why we emphasize on time.
So for emphasis and maybe to scare or to have persons pay on time, what charges are you looking at? 10% of your earnings, 20%?
Well, actually, the charges are quite, just as it is stated, it's a penalty. It's made to deter a particular action. And so for the time being, the annual returns as a charge of $5,000 per month for every month that return is outstanding.
5,000 Jamaican dollars.
5,000 Jamaican dollars.
I don't think that's penalty enough.
Remember, it's per month.
That won't deter
Remember, it's per month, and you'll be surprised.
It accumulates over time.
It accumulates over time. So you want to avoid that. Remember, once you file on time, you do not have that encounter at all. And once you pay on time, you do not have to worry about any interest charges. We are aware that payment may not always come as easy as we think, because we talk about cash flow and the availability of funds. So we encourage you to build a relationship with your compliance unit. We are compliance officers. We at TAG have become customer-centric. Gone are the days when you are going to be scared of the tax office.
Yes, I didn't know that there was a paradigm shift in that, because every time I hear tax auditors for me are scary people. And I saw where you were once a tax auditor. I mean, they're scared. And I can imagine how the business owners feel when they hear the taxman knocking at their door, figuratively knocking at their doors, you know? It's always something really scary, because the first thing they say, oh, me what them taxes and I didn't pay, I'm going to get locked up, I'm going to be charged, etc.
Auditing is a relevant part of taxes, but we have not even gone to the stage of auditing. We are at that stage where we encourage voluntary compliance. We're at the stage where we're educating you and we're showing you how we can assist you, how we can provide support for you, and how we can guide you into how to prepare your tax filing and to complete it on time and online.
So viewers, you hear, so they are no longer scary people, they are now customer-centric, meaning they are going to treat you in the most customer-friendly, and they'll massage you, not literally, figuratively, and hold your hand through the process. So there's no need to feel scary. Go into your compliance officer at your local branch.
Local branches and the tax education officers, where we provide guidance and education so that you can have a favorable audit should you reach to that point.
Okay. All right, so you can go ahead. You have the point that you want to
So we mentioned your tax obligation, and we mentioned what we said. You need to file on time and online, and I keep emphasizing online before March 15th. The online aspect of it relates to you logging into our website at Tax Administration of Jamaica. The website is www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. And so once you become familiar with the website, once you log into it and you become understanding of what we require, you are asked to log in, you are asked to create a username and a password, and we are here to help you with that. The same website has an auto tab, which gives you a screenshot of each of the pages that you will go on, and that's how you can submit your return successfully from start to finish as a micro and small business. So that's the auto tab on our website. And remember, our website is www.jamaicatax.gov.jm, right? So we emphasize filing on time and online, and we remind you that our deadline for filing is really March 15th. We are also reminding you that we want you to pay on time. We want you to clear up your outstanding balances so that you do not incur unnecessary interest charges. And so that is something that we have to bear in mind. And as I said earlier, try to build that relationship with your compliance officers.
As a friend of mine would say, to be on time is to be before time.
That's right, very much so. Apart from your tax obligations, we want you to understand your deductibles. This is our second point, right? And deductibles, yes, it's a very big word, and it's a word that really has a simple meaning. It speaks to your expenses that you may incur in your business, that you will incur in your business. You cannot be operating and do not expect to have some costs. As micro businesses and small businesses, when you are having your operation, for example, you're a cosmetologist, you are going to have costs. You're going to want to be cleaning your place for, sanitizing and making it presentable to your customer. You're going to want to be paying for your rent and your utilities because you use light and water and so on and so forth. You're going to want to provide an ambience for your clients, and so your cable and all of the things that you're going to provide that is going to directly impact on your business operation. These costs are going to come into play, and these are what we call your deductibles. So apart from your expenses, there are other deductibles which we call allowances that are allowed from time to time, and they're outlined in the tax laws. And some of these can become a little bit technical, and this is where you might need a little bit of consultation. And that's what we, the tax education officers and other consultants, are available to do. Persons like accountants and so on can help you to clarify these, but they are there for your benefit so that when you start to apply these to the income that you have earned, you can now arrive at a figure that may look like a profit, and that figure is what we will use to calculate the taxes from. Incidentally, we mentioned expenses, we mentioned allowances, there's what we call a tax-free pay. Every Jamaican citizens are allowed a portion of their income that is income tax-free. Yes, I said income tax-free because there are some other taxes like the education tax and the NIS and the NHT. But when it comes down to the income tax, Jamaican citizens are allowed $1.5 million tax-free from their earnings before they start calculating income taxes.
So let's break it down, and I'll ask you a question so as to allow you to break it down. So if I'm earning $2 million, you're saying 1.5 out of that is income tax free.
That's right.
So only 500,000 will be taxed.
And when we talk about earning, we're talking about that net profit. After you have taken out those all expenses and relevant allowance, then you take out this tax-free portion, which we call the threshold, and the balance that remains, that 500,000 that remains, is what you tax at the particular rate.
I saw where you have on one of your slides that you have deductibles allowed and deductibles not allowed. Can you break that down for us?
Thank you for that question. Section 15 and 13 of the Income Tax Act outline some deductions that are allowed and some that are not allowed. And deductions that are allowed are those deductions that directly impact on you earning the income for that particular business. For example, I was using the example of the cosmetologist. I made examples like the rent, the utilities, the products that they're going to buy to use in their business, the payment to their staff or persons who work with them. These are some that are allowed. But for those deductions that are not allowed, the law outlines that private and domestic expenses, these are not allowed. So, for example, you are operating your shop from a commercial location, but you also live at your residential location. We do not expect to see you claiming your residential rent on your tax return. You are only allowed to claim your operational rent from the location that you are operating from. We have a question in our audience.
Yes. You can state your name and ask your question.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
One sec, let me put the camera on you. Okay.
My name is Ashika Headley,
Hi,
owner
Ashika.
of Ayonde's Collections. So the first question I had, I'm going to let it wait, but in regards to the deductibles, let's say I operate from home and I pay rent. So previously, I was informed that if my rent, let us say my rent is $20,000, then half of that rent or a portion of that rent is an operational cost, because if I didn't live there, if I didn't live somewhere, I couldn't operate. So is that something that's allowed? So so I do sewing. So of course there's electricity. Water would not be included. So there's electricity and rent and Wi-Fi, because I do printing, so I need Wi-Fi to do all of that. Let us say my internet bill is $7,000, my rent is $20,000, and my light bill is about $5,000. Is it allowed to deduct a part of all of that bills for the business? Is that something that's allowed?
Yes. So your question really is a very, very good question. because we have a lot of businesses that are home-based and operating from home. And so, yes, for the portions of your operation that takes place from your home, once you can quantify those expenses, then yes, it is allowed. And we ask that you be reasonable in making that quantification. We ask that, yes.
That's left up to the conscience.
Right. We look at the spaces that you're operating from, and we look at the overall bill, and then you will have to determine a percentage of the usage of those expenses that relates to that whole operation, and then yes, you're allowed to claim that as deductibles. So you were advised correctly.
So basically, it is allowed, but
Yes.
then part of it is based on my reasonability, my ability to say, all right, if let us use electricity then. Let's say before I started the business, my light bill came to $3,500, but now it's at $6,500. It's not fair to say the whole $6,500 is for the business. That's basically what you're saying.
That's basically what we're saying.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, go
My
ahead.
second question,
Hold
or
on a
the
question.
first question is this. Now, let's say I've been operating the business, I did my filing and all of that, and paid, or rather didn't pay, or haven't finished paying something, but I haven't finished paying the, what you call it, the tax that's supposed to go in that money there. And I'm now going to close the business. What happens to that money that's owed? So I'm going to close the business, but I've already done the filing. And maybe some of it is paid or not paid, but the money is owed, and I'm going to close the business. What happens to what's owed?
Well, once you owe a balance, then we expect it to be paid. That is really the fact of the matter. When it comes down to closure of any business entity, yes, we ask that you advise us of that information that you're going to close, but the process for closure entails ensuring that all your accounts have been dealt with, have been settled. And so any monies that are owing and outstanding, you have a responsibility to clear that up with the tax department to facilitate the overall closure. So we will not really close off that account until the matters are settled.
But I'm also thinking that, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're paying taxes for the previous period.
Yes.
So even if you're closed now, I would assume that you're still outstanding for the period.
It was due and payable.
Due and payable.
And so you have a responsibility to honor that obligation.
Okay. All right.
So we looked at some of our deductibles. We said these are expenses. We said that these are allowances that are allowed. And we emphasized that there are some deductions that are not allowed. And I gave you an example that no personal and private expenses. But once you can establish that it was wholly and exclusively incurred in the business operation, then yes, you're allowed to claim these expenses.
So you're saying, Mrs. Jenkins,
Yes.
I have a business, and maybe my business caters to some corporate clients, and I take 2 clients for lunch, and I run my credit card. I can't charge that back to the business?
In some cases, that can be allowed depending on the nature of the business. But we know that that is a very, very funny situation when it comes down to entertainment expenses. And so we encourage you to come in and let us look at it so that we can properly guide you to determine that it was really related to your business operation.
Okay. All right. See, we have here income, since we're really focusing on SMEs, and maybe I don't have a fulsome view of the general net profit for most SMEs, and maybe just pulling a figure out the box, and because I've seen a number of financial income and expenditure statements in my line of work, and I see where the average net profit for most, I'm talking about barbers, hairdressers, and so forth, on about $2.8 million net profit. Oh Lord, did I say that? I don't. Mrs. Jenkins, promise me you won't go hunting on all the hairdressers and barbers in Montego Bay. So I'm seeing on your slide here where you have income in excess of $8 million, in excess of $6 million, effective July 1, 2016. What is that?
Okay, so in Jamaica we have what we call a progressive tax system, and yes, it sounds technical, but it really means that the higher you earn, the more the rate of taxation is going to change. So we have 3 main rates that we are using for income earners. We mentioned the income tax threshold earlier, and I gave you a figure 1.5 million. And so you can equate that with being the clients being taxed at 0%. So that threshold period is really tax-free or 0%. The second tier relates to those persons who are earning above that 1.5 million leading up to that $6 million. And the rate that is applicable is 25%. But for the person who is earning in excess of $6 million, then that figure beyond the $6 million is going to be taxed at 30%. And so that's where the category, that level of earning will fall in. So you have to be mindful of the rates that apply to the various levels of income earning.
Okay.
Right?
No, I am an employee, not a business owner, and I realize that I am paying somewhere like 3% my contribution to NIS.
Yes.
But I'm seeing where you have here that for self-employed persons, they are paying 6%. I'm assuming that because our employer would have assumed the 3%. If you're self-employed, you assume the full 6%. And just for clarity and for the viewers, so I'm correct.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So understanding your deductibles and understanding your taxes. But there's another aspect of your presentation that you mentioned: proper books and records. And I think that's the point that I'm very much interested in, because my experience with persons who own and operate small businesses is that they don't have any record. They can tell you off the top of their head their heads that I make 5,000 per day. I work for 6 days, so that's 30,000 for the week. I spend $20,000 on gas. I spend etc. They can tell you, but when they walk into a bank for a loan, they cannot present a document to show this is my real income and this is my real expenses. One member said to me one day, so Ms. Johnson, may I have to keep every itsy bitsy receipt for me when I buy something or I pay for something? Should they keep it?
They should. And it's a very unfortunate position to be when you're in a business, you're serious about business, and you do not know what is happening in your business. Yes, some persons do memorize the activities, but when you alone know what is happening, how does that benefit you and your team? How does that benefit your team that you're working with? How does that benefit that financial institution that you have just approached? And this financial institution wants to know that you are serious about business. They want to know, as you said earlier in your previous presentation, that if they're going to give you their money, they want to know that they can be able to collect back what they have given to you.
And what I always say too, if a customer approaches an institution, and viewers take note, if you approach a financial institution for a loan, right? And we see where you owe the taxman for 3-4 years. That speaks something to your character too. True. Because if you're not paying a taxman that has the right to probably fine you or lock you up, how much more would you not pay back the financial institution? So it speaks well too of your character as a business person. Are you honoring your tax obligation? It's the same level of commitment you will have towards you paying your loan. So just to note that is something that your institution will look into. And we have a question in the audience from, let me see now, because we have tagged our audience, Mr. Demar.
All right, good evening again.
Good evening, Demar.
All right, so what I really want to ask is that you said that it is very important for us to pay our taxes, and we have the knowledge of that. But what I want to know is that what benefit is there for me as a person who is paying tax? Or if you're a small business owner, what is there for me? What can I benefit in the long run? Is it that I just pay tax, but there's no benefit, or there's something in the long run?
Well, first and foremost, we must understand that taxation is what really runs the country. It is what provides the general operational source for the country. But as a micro or a self-employed individual, there are aspects of the taxation that gives you a direct benefit, especially where you have made contribution to the National Housing Trust and where you have made contribution to the National Insurance Scheme. Now, once you have contributed to the National Housing Trust, then you become eligible for one of their mortgage loans or a grant or any of the instruments that the National Housing Trust offers. So there you can get a direct benefit. Apart from that, we mentioned your contribution to the National Insurance Scheme. Every citizen of the country is encouraged to contribute. And once you're contributing to that, you are entitled to a pension should you reach that age. And for those people who do not live to see that age, you can get a burial grant, which contributes to your funeral arrangements. You are to understand that this contribution helps with other aspects of the country, like the PATH program, grants towards entrepreneurship, and so on. So contributing your taxes by way of the NIS, the NHG, those are what give you direct benefits. For the education tax and the income tax, we know that will go to the consolidated fund that will help with the general running of the country, our international debts, and our local provision of roads and other facilities, infrastructural development that affects our country. So in a nutshell, these are some of the benefits that you can get from paying taxes.
Okay. So Mr. DeMar, you have gotten some colors to your gray areas. There's another question coming in. Because we're taking the questions from our online audience too. Charlieanna Gardner is asking, is there a tax exemption system for startups?
For startups, there is not an exemption system per se. I mentioned earlier the tax threshold that is applicable to every Jamaican citizen who are earning an income. So if you're a startup, and we understand that at the beginning, your business may not become profitable in the first instance. And so where there's no profit, then there will be no taxes, because tax is a percentage of what you have earned. But for the general answer to that, once your taxes do not exceed the threshold, then you would not be asked to pay income tax. And the other taxes that you may be asked to pay, you can see the direct benefit to you, for example, the NIS and the NHT.
So Ms. Jenkins, and I'm going to play the devil's advocate now. So you're saying to me, so I am a Jamaican citizen, born and bred here, contribute, I pay my taxes all the time and everything. I have a new business now going. So you're saying that there's no allocation for a Jamaican citizen in terms of, I'm just starting a business. You can't give me a 2-year break. Rumor has it, and I'm gonna play the devil's advocate again, that there are certain nationalities that has populated the Jamaican sphere that they are exempt. Rumor has it. I have no empirical data. So is there any such benefit for Jamaicans?
Remember, as I explained in my summation a while ago, once you do not earn a profit, you do not pay taxes. So it's not correct to say that there's no benefit for a startup. There's actually that benefit, the fact that you have not earned a profit, then you will not pay a tax. Okay. And for the other entities who, to encourage investment, for the support that the government gives to people who come into our country and make investments, investors, it is offered across the board to all investors. It is not restricted to any nationality or ethnicity. So be careful of how we stereotype.
And that is a question I got from a presentation I did recently too, because they were asking, oh, I just start up, I can't get a break. So it was a spinning off Charlene's question about startup. So you're saying that if you're not making a profit,
no tax will be required.
So you're saying, so if I do my returns, right? If I do my returns and I'm really making a profit, but I'm trying to trick you. So I put in some stuff that you look like I'm making a loss.
Well, Jamaica's tax system is really a self-assessment system. We want you to report your taxes in a true and correct way. The law asks you to represent your return as true and correct as possible. This tax filing that you do is a legal document, and it is all subject to an audit. So if it is selected for an audit and we have proven that your information is not true and correct, it's not true and correct,
slightly distorted,
then we are empowered to make that change, that appropriate change that will represent a truer position of your business. And when we have made that assessment, unfortunately, it will be followed by penalties and interest.
So is that the same thing that we call back tax? If you say, oh, them back tax me?
The term is different. But yes, unfortunately, taxes are really looking at what has passed. So if they want to put that in that category, then I would imagine that that's how they would interpret it.
Because I have about 9 pointers that I noted before the session started. And I wanted to tell me if they are myths or facts as it relates to. And these questions are coming off members that I've spoken to over the years, over the months, and getting some feedback. So you clarified the one about making a loss, that you will not have a tax liability if you're making a loss.
That's right.
So audience, if your company is making a loss, you will not have a tax liability.
In fact, can I clarify? When it comes on to a loss, you are allowed to carry forward that loss. You have to make a record of this loss, and next year, should your business become profitable, you are allowed to deduct that amount of loss that you incurred the year before, reduce your profit, and then calculate your taxes from that. And this loss can be carried forward indefinitely. Yes.
Okay. Somebody in the audience found that information very beneficial.
Right.
And is it true that there is no need to file tax returns if the business or company is not trading or the business is dormant?
That is not true. Once the business is on the books as a registered entity, it must file its return every year. Not filing a return can amount to what we call a so-called criminal offense.
Oh Lord, that sounds heavy, Mrs. Jenkins. Criminal? So you're going to which court?
Because every return filing, right, is a legal document and can be taken toward the courts for the judge to make a decision on that. So we encourage everybody to file their return. And filing is a declaration. If zero activity happen, then you file a nil return. If actual activity take place, then we expect that you are going to report a true and correct position of that business activity for that calendar year.
Okay, so it rests somewhat on good conscience, trust. Now, can I re-register or deregister my business and start a new one if my tax penalties get too high?
Unfortunately, no. You are not allowed to do that. Once you are a micro or a small business or you're a self-employed individual, your name is what we have as, or the TRN that
so
is
my
applied
business,
to your name.
business follow my name.
It
if I have
follows
20
your
companies,
name.
it's under one
So
Nicole Johnson.
That's correct. So you'll be fooling yourself to think that you can.
And that's not a penalty, a criminal charge. That's circuit court.
Remember, when it comes on to the court, it's when you have not done something that you should have done.
Okay, all right. Not wanting to scare my audience. Kevin Jones has a question here. He's asking, when and how do we pay NIS, NHT, and education tax for employees?
Okay, so remember we said the due dates for filing is March 15th. And once you file and you have made a declaration that you have a profit and you have an amount to be paid, if it is relating to a year that has passed, we ask you to pay that as quickly as possible because the period has already gone. Another part of filing relates to declaring an estimate as to what you expect to see happen in the current year. It's about making your projection or your prediction as to what will happen. And so if a tax computation is arrived at, then you are allowed to make these payments on a quarterly basis in the format of March 15, June 15, September 15, December 15th.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. Novlet Smith is asking, Novlet Smith, if I am employed and own a business, do I need to pay NIH, NHT, NIS, etc.? I would be paying twice. Why?
Our tax laws requires that taxpayers ought to report your income from all sources worldwide.
Worldwide?
So, yes, ma'am. So it means that if you are engaged in an employment, as my Claudette is involved in, and
Novlet.
you're also, I'm sorry, Novlet, and you're also engaged in a business activity and you earn any other form of income from any other source, the tax filing form is designed in such a way to capture all of these sources. And in capturing all of these sources, the relevant deductibles are applied, like I mentioned earlier. The relevant allowance are applied, like the threshold and so on. And it's one time this threshold is applied, and the balance that is arrived at
all the income.
is what we use to calculate the tax that is necessary.
All right, let me clear up that. Because I don't understand. I'm getting your response. So so if I'm working in one gateway and I have a small business on the side, NicoleInternational.com or whatever it is, and are you saying that I have to pay NIS, NHT, etc., both from my employee, as being an employee here, and from my business? So I might end up paying 2 NHT in 1 month, 2 NIS in 1 month?
The answer would be yes. And let me explain further. We calculate taxes on the overall earning.
Okay.
The overall earning is what we look at. So once you have arrived at the gross earning and we have taken out the deductible that is applicable to each of those earnings, the figure that you arrive at becomes your overall earning. And then the percentages apply to that. So it may mean that, and remember it's a percentage, NIS is a percentage. So once it's a percentage, whatever the figure that is identified as a profit, then that is what it's going to be applied to.
So even if I have a business in foreign, I still need fee. But that business being run overseas, why you need to be concerned as a taxman in Jamaica about what I earn in Florida or Massachusetts?
Different countries and different jurisdictions have their tax laws, and yes, it is one of the requirements. But similarly, since we want you to declare your income from all sources, you are also allowed to declare any taxes that you have paid in those jurisdictions, and so the applicable tax rate will be made so that you do not have a situation where you are double taxed.
So similar to overseas, where you have persons say they get in their returns. Is there any such system in Jamaica?
In Jamaica, we look at the fact that you have declared your true and correct amount, and if we have found that you have paid in excess of what you should,
we get it back.
Then you can get a refund after investigation, of course, because we want to make sure that this refund is warranted. But remember, and
that happens for real in Jamaica.
It happens for real. The persons who are in the BPO sector will tell you that they have been applying for their refund every year, and they are getting their refund.
So persons in credit unions can apply for that?
Anybody who can prove that they paid in excess of the amount that they should have paid, especially once it relates to income tax, then yes, they're entitled to a refund of those.
I might need to do some research starting tomorrow then, just in case.
So it's the onus is on each individual to ensure. Yes, the onus is on each individual to ensure that their taxes are properly correct.
I only pay over GCT to the tax authorities when I collect it. Yes or no?
GCT has a set date to be filed. You file it on the final business day of each month, and it should represent the month that has passed. So whether or not you have collected it, you are required to file the return outlining what your invoice showed. If you're gonna make a payment in another format, it would have meant that you would have gotten the directive from the tax office to do so. So no, they pay GCT based on the invoices that relate to the period that has passed.
Okay, all right, so yes, okay, got that. Now, one last question. Am I only obligated to pay taxes if I am employed or registered with the Companies Office of Jamaica?
No. Once you're involved in any income earning activity, whether it's registered, whether it's formal or informal, you are required to file and make a declaration of your income from all sources and pay the relevant taxes.
So Tamar have a house on Sunday Bay, and she lives downstairs and she rent out upstairs. To find with somebody, she rent out upstairs and I need to pay taxes.
Rental income is a source of income that requires a declaration and filing also.
Okay, all right. So Tamar, yes. So I need to give her a number because she rent out upstairs of her house, you know. So she needs to start paying some taxes.
Tamar's friend.
All right, so wow, I mean, these well, I thought I knew some things about taxes, but no, you cannot show me up, Mrs. Jenkins. I feel like a tax novice. And similar to the presentation we had earlier, I think we need a 2.0 and 3.0 for you, because it's a whole chunk of information, and I'm sure so far our viewers, both live and joining us online, have been benefiting. Just to check with my studio audience, are there any other questions? Going once, going twice? And I'll be gone in 10 seconds. No? So you were that clear, Mrs. Jenkins.
So in summarizing, remember, we want to file on time and online. We want to pay so that we don't incur additional interest and penalty charges. And we want to make sure that we keep proper books and records so that you can not only know how your business is doing, but you can convince your financial institution and your perpetuity relating to your business.
Yes, because remember, the credit union, we want to know that we are doing business with persons who are committed and who are honest, and it shows the kind of person you are. It speaks well to your character. And at the credit union, we do give character loans, meaning that if you're of good standing, we might not look at the capacity so much or the capital, but we can give you a character loan. So it's very important. Yes. And I want to say thank you, Miss Jenkins, for joining us today. And Miss Jenkins, was so early today. I felt so bad having you wait so long, but I'm sure you will forgive us. And if we request your service again, you will come back. So I want to say thank you. And I want to say thanks to all our viewers who have taken the last, hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half to join us as we continue to celebrate Credit Union Week. And these are sessions that we do for your members because we care about you, we want to help you, and we want you to grow in your knowledge. As I said before, knowing is knowledge. So that wraps up today's session. Tomorrow, however, just to remind you, same time, same place. It will be the last day of our 3-day conference. So tomorrow, Mr. Nevada Poe will be speaking to us on managing your business, managing your finances. And I'm sure he will tie in some of what we learned today in his presentation tomorrow. And to wrap up, we'll be hearing from Miss Deborah Horton, who will be talking to us about how we can drive our business using digital technology. So again, this is the end of a very informative session. I want to say thank you all for joining and see you all tomorrow. Peace out.